Hey, what's up y'all? Ryan here again, and today I'm actually reviewing something a little bit different. It's not a piece of gear and it's not a plugin, it's actually a MIDI drum groove pack from Loudstakk. This is the Metal MIDI groove drum pack, obviously, since that's right up my alley. So I've been talking to the owner, Ron. He's a really cool dude, and he's put a lot of work into this Metal MIDI pack. It's literally got, I think, over 1,000 grooves in it at this point, and he keeps adding to it. So if you end up buying this, link down in the description below, not an affiliate link or anything like that, but if you buy this now, you'll continuously get new grooves every time he updates the pack. Now, this is a sponsored video. Ron did send over this Metal MIDI groove pack so that I could review it and make this video for you all. But all of these thoughts and opinions are my own. Obviously, I don't have any skin in the game there. I'm going to review this like I would as a consumer and show you the way that I would use it. And how I would use it is to write a song. So we're going to jump into a demo mix real quick. And for that demo mix, I used my trusty GOC Guitars Illumina Plus with the Aurora Tone pickups Earth Crushers in it. And this is running through the new Evo amp suite from Revolt DSP. So let's go ahead and take a listen to that, and then we'll dive into how I use this Metal MIDI groove pack so that I could write this demo song. Alright, so before we jump into Logic, I do want to talk about why I would use MIDI drum grooves in the first place. Now, as you can see, I'm in a pretty small room here. I do have an electronic drum set, but I'm also not the best drummer. And a lot of the time that I'm writing music, I'm literally just writing guitar, sometimes bass as well. I probably need to do a better job at that. And I don't always have the know-how or the skill to program or play the drums that are in my head. And thankfully, that's where MIDI drum grooves come in handy, because I can literally just drag and drop these grooves that were played by a real drummer, so no need to humanize or quantize or anything like that, into my session. And because of the way a DAW works, it automatically maps them to the tempo that I'm using inside of that session. What this means is I can get back to what I'm trying to do, which is my creative process of writing guitar riffs and writing songs, and I can go back and tweak these drum grooves later if I want to. I really don't find myself needing to, especially with this Metal MIDI drum pack here. And I really don't think that this is like cheating like some people might call it, because I think that this is just another tool in the songwriter's arsenal to help me get from point A to point B quite a bit quicker. Now, do MIDI drum grooves replace real drummers? For some people, sure. I mean, if you're not going to play live ever, then yeah, I don't see why they wouldn't. But if you do plan on playing live, obviously not. These are not going to replace a real drummer, although they can. I mean, there's a lot of people that just bring a MacBook and have all of their backing tracks on there, and then they're just singing on top of that or playing guitar on top of that or whatever it might be. But as a guitar player, I benefit greatly from using these drum grooves because of the fact that, like I said, like 3 different times now, I can literally just get to my creative process and not have to worry about the drums. All right, so now let's go ahead and jump into Logic Pro here. Now, anything I'm going to show you in Logic Pro is going to have a roundabout similar way of doing inside of Reaper, Pro Tools, Cubase. I mean, all of the DAWs that people use these days have a way to insert and edit MIDI. Now, inside of Logic, it's actually pretty easy because I just click on the file browser over here in the top right corner, and then I navigate to where I've stored these drum loops. So obviously you see up here I have drum MIDI loops and then the Loudstakk Metal MIDI grooves. And then you have the different drum kits that Ron over at Loudstakk has actually gone ahead and mapped over to those, so you don't have to change the mappings yourself. But keep in mind, most of the different drum plugins that you might use will allow you to change their mappings within. And there's a really cool plugin that I'll link down in the description as well called MIDI Remap, and that allows you to drop it on any virtual instrument inside of Logic or Pro Tools, so on and so forth, and change the MIDI mappings for each specific drum kit. So I could change Get Good drums to Hertz drums and so on and so forth using that MIDI Remap plugin. Now today I'm actually using Easy Drummer 3, and so I'm going to choose the Tune Track folder here. Now you'll see he has it organized to fast fills, fast grooves, so on and so forth. Let's go ahead and go over to mid-tempo grooves, double click to open that. Now you'll see a ton of different genres that you can choose from. For me, obviously, the first thing I clicked on was metalcore. So if we go in here, you'll have the suggested BPMs, or the BPM that that beat was written and recorded to. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to set your session to that BPM. You'll see my session up here, I've got it at 170 BPM, and everything's working just fine here. So if we take let's take metalcore upbeat and literally just drag and drop it onto my timeline here. You'll notice that it drags it in. If I double click it, I can then edit all of that MIDI. So if I don't like something about this groove, like maybe I wanted this the snare hit down on the kick or something like that, I can put it on the kick. I don't know why I would, but I can edit all of that. I can change the velocity, I can change the swing to it, I can quantize it further. Again, I don't recommend quantizing these just because they've already been humanized because they've been played by a real person. And so they sound better the way they are than if you were to quantize them yourself. So if we go ahead and hit play, you'll hear what that sounds like. That's literally as much work as you need to actually do to get the MIDI into your DAW and working so that you can start writing. Now in Logic, I would literally just click and drag up here in my upper timeline so that I can create a cycle loop here, and then I would just hit play and jam to that on guitar until I write something to it. That's how I like to use MIDI grooves to write, and I know a lot of people do the same. But now let's say I don't like this fill here at the end. So let's listen to the fill at the end of this drum beat. All right, so let's say we don't like that as much, right? Let's go ahead and go back, and we're going to go to, let's go to a fast fill. We'll go to a triplet fill just for the hell of it, right? And we'll take the second one here. I haven't even listened to that yet, but we'll drag it onto the timeline. You'll see this takes up about 2 bars, so I can literally just drag it onto the last 2 bars of that and listen to that now. So we'll go back a little bit further, and you can hear it in the context of the main beat. So obviously that gave it a way different feel. Not necessarily the feel one might want for that exact beat, but it gave it a different feel. If we undo all of that, just Command Z inside of Logic Pro here, and let's go back to mid-tempo fill. Since we're using a mid-tempo groove, we'll go to the metal fills. Let's grab a random one. Let's grab number 13, and we'll drag it out into the timeline. This is a 1-bar fill, and so we'll go ahead and start that a little bit earlier. So that fits pretty well, obviously. Now, if we wanted to, we could also add fills to the beginning. I like to start a lot of the different riffs that you guys see me write on here with a fill. And so let's take metal fill number 1, and we'll start it right here at the beginning. So instead of it just starting at the drum beat, which is, instead it'll start like this. So again, not necessarily the exact combination that I would use, but you can get the picture. You can see how this would be extremely useful to immediately start writing a drum beat. And again, as a guitarist, I really like starting with a rhythm section for my riff writing. For some reason, it just clicks in my head. I think I was always meant to be a drummer, but I always just focused on guitar because of the fact that I couldn't play drums in the apartments and the places that I was living. Drums really do just kickstart the creative process for me. So I want to talk about something that a lot of people don't really seem to talk about when it comes to MIDI drum grooves, and that's how they actually make you a better drummer and or a better drum programmer. So if we select all of these, I'm going to click and open them. It shows me the MIDI, right? It shows me all of the MIDI that I've been using. I'm gonna go ahead and close my browser so we have a larger window. And this right here is exactly what makes me better as both a drummer and a drum programmer, because I get to see what a real drummer would have played and how they would have played it. So many times you see the memes about guitarists programming drums and how it's completely unrealistic and too many things going on at once, where you'd have to use 4 hands. You'd have to have Goro up here playing drums or something to be able to play what a guitarist would write as drums. And so when you get to look at the MIDI and get to look at the way a drummer played this MIDI into a song, you'll start to put together patterns. And for me, the biggest pattern builder was how to write drum fills. So when I see fills like this, I see how they do their kick patterns with the snare and then the flams on the toms and everything at the same time. That's something that, not being a native drummer, I would not have actually thought about and would have probably struggled to write if I hadn't seen it like written down like this. And again, having no traditional music theory training or anything either, I don't know what this would look like on a staff. I think it'll show me here if I bring it up. So yeah, this is what it looks like on a staff here. To me, this is an alien foreign language. I have no clue what that means. I probably should learn it. I'm assuming each of those dots corresponds with a piece of the drum set, and then I can tell the difference in the rhythm for sure. And since we're in the same view, I want to talk a little bit further about how you can edit all of this. Now, if I didn't like this fill, for instance, so let's say if I wanted this fill to sound a little bit different. So let's go ahead and listen to this one more time. What if I wanted these to be different toms? So I can select both of them and drag down. So now we have the same 2 toms in one. And then I can undo to change that if I want to, or if maybe this symbol is not something that I wanted. So let's listen. It's 2 of the same crash. Maybe I wanted 2 different crashes there. So let's listen to, yeah, let's do that. So now we have 2 different crashes there. So you can edit to your heart's content. There's no hard and fast rules around doing anything like that. You can literally just drag and drop. You can add, you can delete. So maybe you wanted to delete some of the kick patterns on here. We can really drastically and probably detrimentally change this, this drum beat by deleting a bunch of these, just for the sake of it. I mean, it still works though, it still sounds pretty good. And that's the flexibility that MIDI gives you when you're writing a song. Now, let's say you are somebody who is still truly just vehemently against using MIDI drums, right? Well, write your drums this way, get your grooves down and everything, then send this to a real drummer and have them write what they would do instead and send it back to you. There's so many times where I've sent MIDI drums to my friends that play drums and said, hey, I know that this doesn't sound as good as it could. Can you please write something and play it on your drum set and send it back to me? And that's another great tool in the arsenal because they then see what was in my head, how I was thinking, and what direction I was going. And that's really important when you're songwriting and you're not in the room with people. And that's primarily what I do. I don't get to jam with people in person. I literally sit in this room and write music by myself. This helps me collaborate with people, and that's huge. So that's all I've got for y'all today. I really hope that you check out this Metal MIDI drum groove pack from Loudstakk. It's a fantastic MIDI groove pack, and there's so much inside of it that you're going to be going through it for days. You're going to be able to have grooves for pretty much anything that you want to write. Obviously metal related, but all of these grooves can be warped to whatever it is that you're writing. And he does have other MIDI groove packs on his website as well. So make sure to check that out. And let me know how you like to use MIDI grooves. If you use them differently than I do, let me know, because I would love to try out different workflows and see if anything else works better for me. But that's it for now. I'll talk to you all soon. Peace.